Two goals of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force are to acknowledge the expertise of marginalized communities with respect to their lived experiences and to learn more about them by listening to them. One such obvious community is our neighboring Lummi Nation. They have a long and rich history here in the Pacific Northwest, so we invited them to share accounts of their history, culture, and lived experiences. And share they did. Let's hear from a few of those who attended the Holy Listening Sessions.
The thing I was most taken with is just thinking about how long the Lummi people as a people have been present in this area. How when we think of old settlers in Ferndale, we think of people 4 or 5 or 6 generations ago, but for the Lummis, that it's not that, it's more than 40, it's more than 100 generations of people that have lived here. And so to think of them and their ancestors on this land and all the depth of meaning that has just really struck me.
One of the things that Pastor Bobby and I learned when we were planning these conversations is that we are the first primarily white audience that most of our speakers have shared these types of stories with. They were very vulnerable with us, and especially because the church was often part of stripping the Lummi people of culture, of education. We heard terrible stories of the church literally stealing children from their families to put them in boarding schools and then stripping them from their culture when they went to those boarding schools. But what I was so amazed by is that every week we had more and more Lummi speakers willing to share with us, each of them in incredible ways. I'm so very grateful because I feel like this is exactly what Christ calls us to do. Christ calls us to listen and to feel vulnerable and to hear the stories of people's real lived experiences and to take those in and to realize that I have a part, we all have a part in creating healing. And so we will be having a healing service or ceremony with our new Lummi friends sometime this summer. So be sure to watch for that.
I learned to sit with my feelings. If something was said that caused me to have feelings where I wanted to discuss or defend, disagree, dismiss, I reminded myself to just sit, listen, and absorb.
Through holy listening, I've come to appreciate what a holy people the Lummis are, and I have a much greater respect for their many contributions to us and to our land.
Salmon is their way of life. It is their economy, it is their culture, and their spiritual and religious being. They revere the land and the air of the Nooksack River and the Salish Sea.
Listening to the Lummis, I was impressed by how they persevered through some trials and tribulations with their fishing rights and with trying to get good schooling. I was very impressed with them.
I gained a heightened awareness of all that our Lummi neighbors share with the community. It is a special joy to know that Lummi poet Rena Priest was just named Washington State Poet Laureate for 2021.
I was very moved by the poetry of Rena Priest.
I really appreciate our Lummi neighbors sharing with us during Lent. And I think what I got out of it the most is that there's still a lot of hurt and pain and fear there, and there's still so much more that we need to do.
What I learned through our holy listening sessions with the Lummi people is how little I really know about Native Americans, their culture, their history, their experiences. It really opened my eyes to want to learn more.
Really, I think right now the Lummi outreach has been outstanding, And I think we need to keep that up, learning the history of our local community. I know that some of us are passionate about land acknowledgement, and that's to understand what that means takes a little bit of time. And we'll get there. I think we're a growing learning group, and it's nice to know as you age, you're still learning. And I think that that's very important.
So, what is next? And why should we care? Those questions will be the focus of our upcoming Wednesday evening session. We will explore the idea of a land acknowledgement and what might be our next steps in supporting our Lummi neighbors. You're encouraged to join us at 7 o'clock on Wednesday.